Hi, as you know, we have been talking about motion in class. Now, motion is something that seems pretty obvious, but actually getting a scientific understanding of motion has taken people thousands of years. To get the most out of our lesson today, I want you to remember that we have been talking about speed, velocity, and acceleration. If you don't remember the difference between these words, pause the video and look them up real quick. All right, now the first person I want to talk about, his name was Aristotle. So Aristotle was a scientist in ancient Greek, or rather a philosopher. Aristotle thought that objects in motion tended to come to a stop, that nature liked being at rest. The natural state of any object, like this coin, is to stop moving. So Aristotle's idea has a lot of merit. After all, you can move a car, but it takes a lot of power to get it to build up to any speed. And if you ever take your foot off the gas, it will eventually come to a rest. So if he had a theory of motion, his hypothesis would be something along the lines of just rest easy, baby, right? Now, the thing he did not take into account was that maybe something was causing the objects to stop. And this is a force known as friction. Friction is the force that resists the motion of two solids that are touching each other. It also happens when air touches an object, or water touching another liquid. Any matter touching another matter resists them passing each other smoothly. One of the first people to study this was an Italian, and his name was Galileo. Galileo spent a lot of time looking at how objects moved, and he took a look at how objects that didn't have very much resistance to the world around them, like a ball on a string swinging in the air, could actually keep moving. So this coin is going to resist moving, but it'll resist based on how much friction it has. If I try to move it on its side or on its face, it's very difficult to do. But if I make sure there's less friction, I can just roll the coin along. So Galileo thought, instead of objects being naturally at rest, they will keep on rolling. And if you could ever go to a place where there is absolutely no friction, that's what objects would do. They would keep on rolling forever. So many, many years later, when we go into outer space, we can actually see that in some ways, Galileo was right. But that's not all. The next person to improve upon these ideas was Isaac Newton. Now, Isaac Newton said, I like the idea that an object that stays at rest will kind of be there naturally. I like the idea that putting something in motion stops because of friction. But maybe, just maybe, there are principles that guide how objects move. And he called those principles the laws of motion. So he says that every object will obey the law. Well, actually, 3 laws. We won't talk about all 3 laws today, but we will talk about his first. So Aristotle said, look, it is natural for things to stay not moving, that velocity should be 0. Galileo said things should not change direction or speed, that without friction, they'll just keep on rolling. In other words, acceleration is 0. Newton had a more nuanced, a more subtle way of thinking about it. Newton said, if the total force is 0 and the acceleration is 0, these two ideas are related. Or another way to put that is that a body at rest will stay at rest. A body that is moving will keep on moving in the same speed and the same direction. We call this Newton's first law of motion. And we will continue discussing that later on. Everybody, have a great day.